Yo guys, today we are gonna watch AniNews content of season 2. I think this is the episode 8 one, I think, or 10, I don't remember. But this is about the Jeju Island raid. So yeah, let's watch it and see what the novel cut it out. What cut content that we gonna have.
Depending on whether you're watching the anime, reading the manhwa, or reading the novel, all three will present the Jeju Island arc somewhat differently.
Oh really?
Each depiction villainizes Japan to varying degrees, where if it's the novel you get some borderline supervillain stuff, the manhwa is a more toned down version of it, and I expect the anime to barely mention it at all. The nature of this cut content does relate to characters and concepts that will show up later though, so for those I'll flash a minor spoiler alert on the screen beforehand. Since they are topics the anime should have introduced already though, I definitely think it's important to be aware of them, especially since some have a direct hand in dictating the way the plot is going now. So, while yes, technically some of this is spoilers, they're not the type which will ruin the show for you. In fact, I'd actually argue they serve to enhance it. Once again, not all of this is spoilers though, so for the parts that are, I'll include timestamps with the spoiler alert.
Okay.
Now, just very quickly before that, last video I unveiled my new collection of solo leveling inspired shirts, so in case you missed it, here it is again. We got the strongest T returning in shirt and hoodie form, then the two new designs featuring Igris's and Iron's iconic weapons. You can get all three at a discount when you buy them together.
I kinda wish that the design is this on the front. If it's not bad, I guess it's cool, but I kinda wish that this design is just a small design in the at here, like a minimalistic design, so that in the front doesn't feel so empty.
So
or at least show Iron's face on here. Like at least it doesn't make the front so empty, and at least there's some bit of design.
To check that out using the link down in the description. They'll only be available for about 3 weeks or so.
I guess this is okay, I guess, in the front. I feel like you can put more, like the face here. Yeah.
So, if you want to support the channel and get some high quality streetwear in return, I promise this is clothing you won't be disappointed in. But anyway, let's start things off with the carnage at this remote island, since the events here are more than just a grave premonition of what awaits these countries.
This is Japan, right?
The behavior of the ant was actually shown to be quite intelligent, since unlike my teammates in Marvel Rivals, it knew to focus the weakest hunters first.
Sorry,
with
I am one of those teammates.
108 of them actively chasing it, it methodically eliminated the E-ranks first to decrease their numbers, then got rid of the healers in order to weaken them.
Ooh.
It was a level of intelligence that indicated the ant knew what situations would put it at an advantage and disadvantage.
Huh, the ant looks more ant-like in the manhwa than the anime. The anime, yeah, it does look like ant, but I feel like their face this design here is quite different from the manhwa.
Luckily, a dashcam was able to get footage for the Hunter Association, so in Korea they weren't entirely in the dark with regards to what they were dealing with. Now, you may think 108 hunters was excessive for a single A-rank monster, but considering its ability to sense danger and adapt, Japan believed their response was the appropriate one. I mean, even with all that, they still took on casualties anyway. So, with Japan possessing one of the most well-organized systems with regards to its network of hunters, the fact it suffered so many casualties meant any other country would likely end up worse from a crisis like this. Combine that with the numerous islands Korea had off their coast just like Japan, and the association knew they were in trouble.
Where is Japan?
They simply weren't capable of monitoring every island like how Japan was. Their country just didn't have enough hunters. Plus, with this ant having flown 150 kilometers just to get here, that meant it could easily make it to the mainland too. The islands weren't the only areas in danger anymore. This put Chairman Go into quite the tough situation, since when he considered what countries might come to their aid, there wasn't a single one that came to mind. China and Russia were actually the most likely, but even with their plentitude of hunters to spare, the amount of land they needed to protect made it difficult to justify it.
They have too much places to protect.
America had refused to help in all the raids before, so it was
Basic America.
more than likely they'd do the same again. There was, however, an independent who requested to come out and help regardless, and that would be Huang Dong-su. As Mr. Wu would inform Chairman Go, he was very intent on participating in this raid. Of course, both the chairman and Wu knew it was to target Sung, so without even being told to do so, Wu had already denied Huang's request and barred his entry into the country. He had used the conflict with Beck as an excuse to justify it. Huang wasn't the only person who tried to get in contact though, as another party expressed interest in meeting as well. Who might that be?
Thomas.
Well, he's one of 5 hunters the world likes to classify as a national level hunter. This is a concept Jinho's dad should have introduced back when he was talking about the guild, since that was the core reason he knew power was the new world order. Mr. Yu didn't just fear S ranks, he feared the level above and their near godlike power. Like, these hunters weren't called national level for nothing. It was a title that indicated their power was equivalent to an entire nation's military. So, it was one of these all-powerful hunters with
An entire nation's military. Is it that amazing? Because whenever I hear it, I just, cool, I guess.
which wanted to speak to the chairman, leading to a cutscene with him. This is Thomas Andre, and he's the guild leader of the Scavenger Guild, the one from America that Huang Dong-su is part of. The meeting was brief yet powerful, since when a hunter like him requests something, it was definitely in your best interests to oblige. So first he would ask where Sung Jin-woo was. Chairman Go had no idea, so the best he could do was answer honestly and hope Thomas believed him. I mean, it's not like people often lied to him anyway, so Thomas had no problem accepting Chairman Go's answer. His next question was more of a demand, since he wanted to ensure Huang Dong-su couldn't return here. It's likely he was familiar with Huang's personal beef and for whatever reason wanted the association to keep Huang away from it. So, since that was an issue Wu already took care of, that was it for what Thomas wanted. The meeting was done and Thomas would leave now. Chairman Go couldn't help but be a bit disappointed, since what he thought was a potential avenue for his country's salvation instead turned out to be nothing more than a meeting which could have been an email. That said, if Korea could somehow put together the right amount of
Damn, this looks evil.
cash to hire him, well, that was a completely different story. In the meantime, Japan would be having a crisis meeting of their own, since for them, a remote village had just been wiped off the map.
Oh my.
This brought the Japanese government together with Japan's own hunter
Is this gate?
association, leading to a conversation where a plan
I never
had to
watched
be
Gate, but I
made.
feel like this
You
is-
see,
this is
with the
Gate.
Prime Minister wanting the problem solved as fast as possible, it wasn't an exaggeration to say most people's jobs here depended on the results of this meeting. No one really had a plan yet, but the association president did see an opportunity. Since Jeju Island was a piece of land South Korea couldn't defend on their own, he believed it fair to question their ownership of it. It was a
They're trying to take Jeju Island. Whoa.
controversial statement that got everyone in the room talking. No one would dare to assume what it was Matsumoto was implying though, so to make his words as clear as possible, he just came right out and said it. Japan would step in to secure Jeju Island, and in doing so they'd also take Jeju Island for themselves. It was once that was said that all on the association side would be completely silent, but for the members of government, well, let's just say they were riled up. I mean, not only was the Prime Minister awaiting an appropriate solution, but so was the entire country too. So, to come out and say they were gonna annex another country's island right after this incident, well, that just didn't seem like the best solution. Now, obviously Matsumoto wasn't implying they do so by force, but what he was saying was they coerced them using this crisis. If his plan went exactly as he intended, then by the end Korea would be ready to hand over Jeju Island willingly. Still, the idea seemed absolutely ridiculous, but for Matsumoto he was incredibly serious. Even the Vice Prime Minister, who was currently in the room with them, couldn't fathom how such a feat would even be possible. That's not to say he wasn't interested though, since he was actually quite curious to hear more about it. So, When it
We
came
the
down to it,
bastards.
Matsumoto knew South Korea wasn't in a
Japan is going back to its roots.
position to say no to help. The world had all but accepted its unofficial stance they'd given up, so if another country came in offering help, there wasn't a chance any sane person would deny it. I mean, Jeju Island was 2% of their overall landmass after all. It was quite a hefty
2%.
amount to just write off like that. The thing
That's a
is,
lot.
help probably wasn't enough to get South Korea to hand over the island. Even if it was, for Japan the island definitely wasn't enough as compensation. You see, when it came to putting the life of an S-rank at risk, an island like Jeju paled greatly in comparison. So, when asked what else was to be gained in return, well, let's just say Matsumoto had something a lot more foul in mind. The only reason no one realized it yet was because they were so focused on the idea of Japan actually helping Korea that not once did they think this wasn't their intention. Well, Matsumoto never said it was, and he had actually made a point to make clear he was only suggesting it. It was then that Matsumoto's true intent would come to light, revealing a plot that would effectively destroy South Korea. Now, I don't mean that entirely literally, but if Matsumoto's plan went the way he intended, Korea's position in the world would drop dramatically. So, what was this plan then? Well, it was essentially a trap that would result in the death of all of South Korea's S-ranks. There is a chance this does get revealed in the anime, but the full extent of Matsumoto's plan wasn't even revealed in the manhwa. So it's for that reason that I'm sharing it now. This plan was set in motion far before any of this, and it changes the light under which we see everything. So, how was Japan planning to kill all of Korea's S-ranks? Well, with Japan's S-ranks forming the diversion on the outside, we know Korea's would proceed to the Queen. It's once they were in the tunnels facing off against the Queen that Japan would withdraw and send all the ants back into the tunnels. Knowing Korea wasn't able to handle these ants 3 times before, Matsumoto was confident they wouldn't be able to handle them now.
Dude, the irony, what the hell? If you guys know, damn, this plan just bites him back so hard.
Certainly not from an unexpected ambush numbering in the thousands. So this to Matsumoto was the fate of Korea the moment they failed the raid the first time. All he was doing was helping to speed up the process. What then happens when all of Korea's S-ranks are dead? Well, that's where the whole willingly part comes in. With nothing left to defend themselves from an onslaught of ants, it was only natural Korea would become desperate for any help. I mean, their borders would be incredibly susceptible to all sorts of danger now. There was even a chance North Korea would try to invade with their own S-ranks. It's unlikely China, Russia, or America
North Korea, I didn't expect North Korea to be mentioned here.
would do anything to help then, so when Japan steps in to be their knight in shining armor, that's when Korea would have no choice but to cling to them. It was a vulnerable position that, by then, Korea would probably be willing to hand over Jeju Island and more. Jeju Island was just the beginning, since if Matsumoto's plan
Damn, Matsumoto is trying to revive the old Japan for some reason. This is crazy. What the hell? What did the authors thinking doing this plot?
finished the way he wanted, then in the end it would be all of Korea that fell under Japan's influence. They would have assumed control without firing a single shot. So, with that leading to the birth of Matsumoto's empire, this would be the full extent of the plan he came up with.
Oh my God.
It was a plan the government would fully commit to, and it would be the same plan Goto would operate under here, at least in the novel. In the manhwa, Goto's motivations were a little different, but that's a topic we'll cover in a little bit. For now, Goto and Matsumoto had just arrived at the airport, and Goto was sensing someone incredibly powerful. As a hunter capable of standing on equal footing with China's strongest, Goto knew this was a presence South Korea wasn't capable of producing. That's when an association member would reveal it was Thomas Andre, leading Matsumoto to think he might interfere with their business. For a bit more information on Goto himself, he was the leader of the Blade Guild, the largest and most powerful guild in Japan since, unlike Korea, there was no competition in Japan. Where Korea had their top 5 always competing against each other, in Japan it was just the Blade Guild at the top. They alone possessed 11 out of the 21 S-rank hunters in the entire country. Now, The joint meeting had government officials present as well, so when Matsumoto offered to so generously create a united front, the ministers of Korea were all too eager to accept the offer. They initially thought Japan was going to demand reparations, so for them to do the opposite, well, that was almost too good to be true. Only Chairman Go remained skeptical of this all too timely offer. He at least wanted to know what their plan was first. Matsumoto would then reveal the plan as mentioned in the anime, exposing a harsh truth that made their offer all the more unbelievable. You see, since Japan knew the ants had exited the tunnels only 3 times before, that indicated they had been spying on them. Not only that, but they were watching closely yet did nothing to help them. That being the case, in a way the information they gained was at the expense of all the dead hunters from Korea. It was a notion Chairman Go couldn't help but be upset about. This led him to unleash a bit of his magical energy, enough to get Goto to react with his own. It was only fair that Japan respond in kind to whatever aggression Korea initiate. Even so, Mr. Go knew he couldn't let his personal feelings get in the way of solving the biggest problem his country has ever faced before. As much as he didn't like to admit it, he knew Japan's help was necessary if they were going to even attempt a raid. So, the question wasn't whether to accept the help or not, it was instead, could Korea's 6 viable S-ranks actually kill the Ant Queen? Perhaps if Sung was there they could, but if he wasn't then the mission would become a whole lot riskier. At the very least, the plan to get them there seemed solid. Since it has been proven the ants leave the tunnels when they sense a powerful presence, Goto's multi-directional attack on the coast should leave the Queen minimally guarded. It's from there the Korean team will helicopter in, infiltrate the tunnel, kill the Queen, then helicopter out. They didn't need to kill every ant along the way, they just needed to kill the Queen herself. So, while Mr. Go wasn't sure they'd succeed, what he did know was that the ants needed to be taken care of before they evolved even more. If that meant resorting to borrowing another country's strength, then that was a price he was willing to accept. The only thing Japan asked for in return was an even split of the magic crystals. It was a seemingly small asking price considering the value Korea was getting in return. Now, in the manhwa, this would be where Goto would reveal his true intentions, highlighting a whole new motivation apart from the ones we mentioned earlier.
Oh, really?
This one was a
remember.
bit more personal, since remember how I said he was as strong as Liu? Well, Liu was national level and Goto wasn't.
Oh.
Why, might you ask, would someone who was equally as strong not carry the same credentials? Well, that's because Goto didn't have the qualifications to earn one. He didn't have a completed S-rank gate under his belt.
Oh.
So, it was once he cleared Jeju Island that would finally qualify him as a national level hunter.
Oh.
The 6th in the world to ever be one. Or at least he hoped anyway. This would be more than enough compensation for Japan since their status in the world would increase dramatically. Of course, Goto knew this wasn't the most righteous way of doing things, but from his
I heard that the anime used 2 of those plot points. Like, it's gonna like just combine it. I feel
perspective,
where the Japan one, you feel it? Like, I feel like they should just go for it because it's just a fictional story, so I don't think there's any reason to not just villainize Japan. And if Japan is the one that doing it, the anime, so I guess it's more plausible. And yeah, I feel like they should just do villainous the Japan, and also show Goto's what you call own goal. But I feel like with 3 episodes, I already watched the solo leveling episode 9. So with how this is going, I feel like it should be I don't think they have much time to actually reveal their own intentions. So yeah.
he wasn't really asking for a lot. What he was offering was by no means unfair to South Korea, and realistically, it was the only way to achieve what he wanted. Now, in the novel, Mr. Go couldn't help but question their intentions more, but that only led the officials beside him to effectively scold him. Everyone aside from him wanted to seal the deal as fast as possible. That being the case, in the end the proposal was approved unanimously. It was after that Matsumoto would commend Goto for his help because the only reason he could talk to the chairman the way he did was because he knew he was safe with Goto next to him. Together they had effectively achieved the
Goto was there in the novel and manga. In the anime, didn't even show Matsumoto.
first step towards something huge. A new empire that Matsumoto could become the emperor of. As for
Damn, Emperor Japan is coming back. Imagine.
Why someone as strong as Goto accepted this man as his superior, it was all because following his ambitions would lead himself to a place of greater power as well. And with that outcome all but confirmed, the only wildcard was the new S rank for whom they had zero information on. They knew this could potentially deviate their plan, but they didn't think a single person could change things too much. I mean, the odds of him being someone who could was about 1 in a billion. So, with that being their only concern, both could rest easy knowing things were fine. So that's Japan's plan in its entirety. It's tough to say what route the anime plans on following, but I hope this extra bit of information makes the Jeju raid more entertaining for you. At the very least, now you know there's more to it than just the main conflict itself.
Even episode 9 didn't show any of the plan. The episode 9 one.
But anyway, if you liked the video,
yeah, that's all. I think it's such an interesting to see that they really try to villainize Japan by showing the old Japan. I know the old Japan well by my own history, since I am one of the country that Japan tries to try to colonize. But damn, I didn't expect the author to go this route with Japan, since I just thought that he will just go just full full power fantasy and didn't care about this type of politics. But damn, didn't expect this much politics in the novel. But it's interesting to see. I thought it was weird because I didn't remember that Japan is trying to colonize Jeju Island, but now but it says it's only in the novel. The manhwa is different. The manhwa, after he explained it, I actually remember that he just want to have the title of National Hunter, but so they weren't even evil in the manhwa. It's just in the novel, and in the manhwa they did so dirty. Like, bro, I feel bad for them. But in the novel it feels like they deserve it, but in the manhwa it feels like they didn't deserve it at all. Like, I feel so bad for it. I hope Ragnarok will explore this again, and it is someone different that's writing it. And so far Ragnarok is probably what you call a best representation of a good sequel to the main series. I watched Boruto, but how I want to say, Boruto, it is like it's hard to I want to praise Boruto, but it's kind of hard to praise it. There's some episode it is just are unjustifiable, but for now Ragnarok is very cool. If they going with a different direction for Suho's power. At first I didn't like it with how he has Sun Jin-woo's power a bit, but yeah, that's all from me. Thank you for watching. If you guys enjoys this, please leave a like and subscribe, and please check out the playlist to see more of my content. And yeah, peace out.